Thank you, Karen. Yes, at Policy Lab number 3, we were looking at sustainable regions, and we had representatives from 3 ESPON projects that are working in that area there. One looking at the circular economy, then the low carbon projects are looking at the transition process of regions and cities to a low carbon economy, and then the ongoing project on green infrastructure and ecosystem services. We got really an incredible wealth of information in that policy lab, which I think is humanly impossible to repeat here. So what I intended to do, or what I decided to do, was really to look at a meta level and really try to bring together the commonalities of what we heard during the 1.5 hours we were in the policy lab. And I think what we learned is that because with these issues of circular economy, transition to local low carbon economy, and green infrastructure ecosystem services, these are all environmental issues, and as we all know, these issues, you can't really treat them in a way that you stop thinking at your administrative borders. So in these fields, really, functional regions play a particularly important role, which is why cooperation is a key issue here. I know this is nothing really excitingly new, but nevertheless, it's a very important issue that appeared really in all the presentations and also the comments we got back from the stakeholders that were present in this policy lab. So cooperation concerning cooperation in functional areas, also urban-rural cooperation, just really together to discuss and deal with these issues and make strategies to, for instance, to achieve the transition to a low-carbon economy work, but also horizontal and vertical cooperation, so cooperation of stakeholders on different levels of governance. Which is considered quite important for successful implementation of relevant strategies. And this also goes hand in hand really with a broad involvement of obviously the relevant people, but not only relevant people in administrations, but also involvement of NGOs, of private sector, of businesses, of the civil society, because at the end of the day, these issues actually also affect all of us and partially also require our own habits to change in the long run. So this also very much then touches upon governance issues, obviously. So there was also a clear message saying that governance powers really need to be given to particularly regional and maybe also local level to make sure that those that really want to implement relevant strategies, that they have also the means and the power to do so, and also actually the capacity and the knowledge to do so. In this context, then we also learned that proximity is something that really matters. So in these sustainable in trying to move more towards getting sustainable regions, moving towards circular economy, low carbon economy and all of that, most of that is really happening on local regional levels. So proximity matters in the sense that also stakeholders there need to better interact, but also that particularly when we're talking about the circular economy, there needs to be more economic activity maybe on local level that needs to be fostered in the future. And there it was a clear message also, for instance, that sustainable planning should in the future be a norm rather than just an exception, and that refers to urban regeneration initiatives, to sustainable urban mobility, to focus on waste prevention, and also to boosting the bioeconomy. And then, of course, there was the question of what cohesion policy could do in all of that. And it was found that cohesion policy could particularly continue funding research in this area, because there are still a lot of open issues where evidence is needed. But also research on challenges concerning market issues when we're talking about energy and market distortions when it comes to distributing energy. And finally, an issue that I know always comes up when we're talking about ESPON research refers to data. So data at local and regional level is very important. And whereas there is a richness of data coming from Eurostat, very often the data is actually needed also at at local and regional level, and there it might sometimes be difficult to harmonize data that does exist in different countries on local and regional level, but that can be difficult to use because it's not harmonized on a European level. So, and with that, I'll leave it there.